Picture this. You are sitting in a room you once considered your sanctuary. Across from you sits a person who, until yesterday, seemed like an open book. You ask a question, something simple, maybe mundane. Or perhaps, it's the question that has been burning a hole in your soul for weeks. But the response is nothing. Just a heavy, viscous silence that begins to slow crawl through the space between you like a thick, suffocating fog. You can hear your own heart beating. The sound becomes deafening. Your brain, this perfect machine designed to find patterns, starts to glitch. It cannot tolerate a vacuum. It demands data. But there is no data. There is only her gaze, fixed somewhere past you, and her lips, pressed into a thin, impenetrable line. In this moment, your body transforms into a chemical battlefield. Cortisol saturates your blood, and you feel a chilling anxiety sprouting within you like jagged needles of ice. Why? Because in the world of dark psychology, silence is not a void. It is the most deafening scream you will ever encounter. This is not a mere pause in conversation. It is a frozen spear forged from the absolute absence of sound, aimed directly at your most vulnerable point. Welcome to the Abyss. Today, we are going to dissect what the glossy psychology magazines never tell you. We are going to look behind the curtain of a woman's silence and understand the game her mind is truly playing, and how your own brain betrays you in that stillness. Watch this until the very end, because what you are about to learn will forever change your perception of communication and power. Let's start by shattering the primary myth of your upbringing. You were taught, if there's a problem, talk about it. You were told that communication is the key to every door. That is a lie. In reality, within the context of high emotional stakes, the one who speaks first often loses. The one who explains the most is the one making excuses. The one who fills the silence with words is the one voluntarily surrendering their energy. Most men make a fatal mistake. They perceive silence as a malfunction that needs to be fixed. You start talking more. You offer options. You apologize for things you didn't even do. You fidget. And in that moment, you look like a man whose foundation is built on sand. You have just proven that your internal state is entirely dependent on her verbal validation. Let's dig deeper. Psychology calls this the value vacuum. Imagine a scale. On one side are your words. On the other, her silence. The more words you throw onto your side, the lighter they become. Silence, however, weighs tons. It creates a deficit. And in the economy of human relationships, whatever is in deficit always costs more. Through her silence, she artificially inflates her value while you devalue yourself with every "what's wrong" you utter. But what is actually happening in her head during these minutes? Here, we enter the zone of the emotional barrier. Sometimes, silence is not a strategy, but a form of emotional surrender. She closes the door because words no longer work. But more often than not, it is a test. A deep, almost instinctive test of your stability. Female nature is hardwired to seek stability. Not just financial, but psychological. When she goes silent, she is unconsciously, or very consciously, issuing a challenge. Will you crumble under the pressure of this void? Will you start panicking? If you do, you failed the test. You've shown that you can be controlled simply by withholding feedback. You've become predictable, and predictability is the death of attraction. Your brain, in this moment, is trapped in trauma projection. Since there is no real information, your mind starts pulling the worst-case scenarios from its archives. She doesn't love me anymore. She found someone else. I ruined everything. You aren't fighting her. You are fighting the ghosts in your own head. Her silence is merely the screen onto which you project your own fears. Insight number 2. Power through absence. In philosophy, there is a concept, to leave in order to remain. When a person goes silent, they partially vanish from the space. Your mind perceives this as a loss of control over a resource. It triggers a panic similar to a child losing their mother in a crowd. But you are not a child. Yet, your neural pathways react exactly that way. She knows, on a level of intuition or experience, that silence forces you to invest. While she is silent, you are thinking about her. You are analyzing her. You are burning your time and mental energy. You are becoming more attached to her while she simply sits there, sipping tea. It is the most effective form of investment in history, receiving everything while giving nothing. Now, let's talk about the right to exit. Silence is a demo version of her final departure. It is a psychological simulator that shows you, look what your life will look like if I am not in it. If you start begging or showing aggression in this moment, you confirm your dependency. You show that your life has no meaning without her soundtrack. True masculine psychology in these moments requires not action, but being. There is a massive difference between giving the silent treatment out of spite and maintaining a calm presence in silence. The first is a childish manipulation. The second is the strength of a Stoic. When you can stay in the same room with a silent person without feeling the need to justify yourself or attack, you pull the sting out of the silence. Remember the concept of the frame. Your frame is the boundary of your world, your rules, and your peace. When you enter her silence and start drowning in it, you have entered her frame. You've become an actor in her play. But when you accept her silence as her right, continuing with your own life, reading a book, or simply enjoying your inner world, you hold your frame. And suddenly, she is the one who becomes uncomfortable in her own silence. Have you ever wondered why the silence feels like a physical weight? It's because silence is a mirror. A giant, perfectly smooth black surface that demands you finally look at yourself. Without the comfort of her voice to reassure you that you are the good guy or the successful man, the labels fall away. You are left standing before the glass, and for the first time, you see the truth. You aren't solid. You are a figure covered in glowing cracks and fragmentation. Her silence didn't break you. It simply turned on the lights so you could finally see what was already shattered inside. You must understand, her silence isn't always about her. It is always about your reaction. If you react with anger, you are weak. If you react with pleading, you are weak. If you react with a cold counter-manipulation, you are playing games that will eventually burn you both. The only path to victory is authentic composure. The realization that your value is not a derivative of her words. Look at it through the lens of biology. Your brain seeks dopamine, the reward hormone. An answer to a question, a smile, even an argument, is a dopamine hit. Silence is a dopamine withdrawal. You enter a state of abstinence. You need a hit of her reaction. But this is exactly where you must exercise your will. Switch your brain to a different source. Regain control over your biochemical state. Let's move toward transformation. How do you turn this crisis into your strength? First, acknowledge the moment. Tell yourself, psychological pressure is happening right now. My brain wants to panic. I choose observation. Become the researcher of your own anxiety. Why are you so afraid that she isn't talking? What is the worst that could happen? Second, use the open space method. If she is silent, give her that space. Do not try to shrink it. If she wants silence, flood her with it until she starts to drown in it herself. But do this not out of revenge, but out of respect for her choice. This is the highest form of confidence. I am so secure in myself and in us that your silence cannot shake me. Often, truth is born in this silence. When the noise of words dies down, you start to notice the details. How is she sitting? How is she breathing? What is the expression on her face? Sometimes you will see not anger, but deep sadness. or exhaustion, or disappointment. In that moment, your calm will allow you to walk over and simply hold her without saying a word. And that embrace in silence will say more than 1,000-hour lecture. But if behind the silence stands cold calculation and an attempt to break your will, your composure will be her harshest punishment. A manipulator feeds on your reaction. No reaction, no food. The manipulation withers at the root when it hits the rock of your indifference to games. We have reached the finale of this descent. Dark psychology teaches us to see the hidden mechanisms, but philosophy teaches us to rise above them. Silence in a relationship is not the end. It is a transition point. It leads either to a new level of understanding where words are unnecessary, or to the realization that you are speaking different languages. Your path to inner power lies through the acceptance of the unknown. You are no longer the man who fears a partner's wrong facial expression. You are the master of your mind. You have learned to value silence because in it, you hear yourself. Your habits have shifted. Your mindset has become as sharp as a razor. Remember, attraction is created in the space between you. If that space is cluttered with the trash of fears, excuses, and empty words, attraction dies. Silence cleanses that space. It makes it sterile and honest. Do not fear it. Love it. Use it as a tool to calibrate your soul. Tomorrow, when the moment of silence comes, you will not look away. You won't frantically check your phone. You won't try to come up with a witty phrase. You will simply be. And in that being, there will be so much power and dignity that the whole world around you will change. You have stopped being the victim. You have become the observer. Your mind is your fortress. Her silence is merely the wind beating against the walls of that fortress. The wind may howl, it may die down, but the fortress remains unmoved. This is true confidence. This is the hidden truth you were looking for. Relationships are not just about the joy of communication. They are about the ability to endure the absence of communication. It is a test of your ego's maturity. You pass that test today simply by allowing these thoughts to penetrate your consciousness. You are no longer afraid. You are free. And when she finally speaks, and she will eventually speak, she will see a different man before her. A man who cannot be wounded by silence. A man who knows the price of his words and the price of his stillness. And that, my friend, is the most attractive quality a man can possess. The loudest thing you can do in response to her silence is to remain yourself. Unshakable, calm, real,